Today we're going to talk about probably one of the most important things when you're out hiking or you're actually doing any backcountry stuff whatsoever, which is water systems. Whether it be water filtration or whether it be bladders, whatever it may be. The most important thing to keep in mind, even in the winter, lots of people seem to think that if there's lots of snow, oh, I'll just melt the snow and I have water. It's not really like that because you dry out really fast out there, so you should always be carrying water no matter what. So I want to talk about a few different ways of handling things. In the winter, admittedly, you can get by with some stuff, but you should still filter your water no matter what because you don't know where that snow actually came from. Or the ice, or what's in the ice as far as that goes. It's always better to find running water in the winter. In the spring, the summer, and the fall, you just plain need to have some sort of filtration system because you don't know what's in that water. So, with that said, there's all kinds of different ways of doing this. I'm going to tell you a few of them, and I'm going to tell you what my favorite is, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're going to start off with this little gizmo right here. Okay, this here was my first real filtration system and water collection system that I actually really liked. It's called the Grail. It's got inside of it. It's got a if I can get this out. Inside of it, it's got a filter hooked on the bottom of it. Okay, so I'm going to show you. There's the filter. You see the green filter on the bottom? And essentially what happens is that this filter will take out like 99.95% of protozoa and all kinds of really harmful stuff. So essentially what you do is you fill up this, and you take this and you push it in and you push it through so that the water actually turns around and goes through that filter. Now this is handy because of the fact that you can get the water from just about anywhere, and then once you've got it done like that, you can open this up and you can drink the water right out of here. Okay? Or this thing here actually has a little opening that this can close on so that it seals it when you're going, and if you want to drink out of it, you can take it out that way. So that was one of my first filtration systems that I ever had. Handy, really nice, weighs a lot. If you're doing any like trying to keep things light, if you're doing any ultralight packing or whatever out there, probably not the thing you want to carry. But what I did carry this with was the other thing that I use here, which is called a SteriPen. So a SteriPen, this is a great little device, okay? Essentially what it is it's a UV light. And you dip it into the water, you turn it on, and you spin it in the water, and it works like any other UV system that you've got out there. I would recommend anybody have one of these because should one of your other filtration systems die, something goes wrong with them, or you break the filter or something like that, at least you've got something like this. You should also carry tablets with you no matter what you do. Nice thing about this is that you've got a little USB charger on the back of it, so you can just plug it in and charge it. I've got various things that I take on the trail with me when I want to charge things up, like this in my phone and so on and so forth. Very nice little unit, little pricey for what I think it actually does, but it's definitely something that's very good and augments things a lot. Now, next thing I want to talk about is your standard everyday bladder. Okay, so this is a 4-liter bladder. I also had a 2-liter MSR, which was, or a 2.5, sorry. And it was nice, it was great. You should always have a bladder of some kind, okay? No matter what you do, because with these things, you basically, I've got a little slot that goes on the top here. I forgot to bring it, so, but Anyways, what this does is you fill it full of water, you put it in your pack, and then you basically have it on your back, and this tube hooks over, and you can drink right out of the tube. It's as simple as that. Why would you want to do that? A lot of people have asked that. Well, lots of times when you're doing through hiking, you don't want to stop. You just want to keep on going. If this is hanging over your shoulder, you just keep on going. And it holds a lot more water. The other side is that when you're doing treks through areas where there is no water, you want to have a good supply that's already there. Because I've done treks where it's been like 2 days without water, and you actually really conserve your water. And if you've got 4 liters and you know ahead of time that you're actually hitting those spots on the trail, one of these things are worth their weight in gold. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that when you've got a 4-liter bladder with you, you want to make sure that you do actually figure out how much you're really going to need. If you don't need to keep this thing full, don't. Because let's face it, if this thing's full, it's a lot of extra weight on your back, okay? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, as far as filtration goes, another one that I've used, and it works, is this little jobby here, which I will get out here in a second. What it does is it's a hand pump, okay? And so this thing really is quite nice. What happens with it and stuff is that you take the filter, okay? So I'm going to unwrap this. I used this on my last trek, or my second last trek, sorry. And normally what happens is that this is hooked up in between here and this hose here. This is an extra filter, but you can see this is very, very dirty now. So on the last trek that I used it, I actually took this off because it was clogged up and it was just no good anymore. So, but it does actually have a pre-filter, which is what this is, and then it's got its main filter, which is inside of here. Now what you do is you take this little steel part, you put it in the water, and this foam piece floats on top of that water, then you pump. And it'll pump the water up and in, and inside of here, you can see this can screw onto your bladder and stuff. And the water goes through the filter that's inside of here, which is a ceramic-based filter. I'll show you. Let me open it up here, if I can get it open. And it's pretty tight at the moment. It seems like I can't get it open, but there's a ceramic filter in there. Oh yeah, I can push it out here. Anyways, you can see inside there's a ceramic filter. This is made by MSR, and it does quite a good job. It does. I did use it. I did a hike on the Bruce Peninsula, and I used this for that whole hike, and that was 5.5 days. Normally people spend like 7 to 8 days doing it, but I had to truck through it. So it was 5.5 days, and if any of you know it, it actually starts in Wyerton, Ontario, and goes all the way to Tobermory, Ontario. So great hike if you ever want to do it. So this is another option that you can have. So it's a pump, a hand pump. Now, my favorite by far, well, let's not get to that yet. Let's talk about this. Okay, this is what they call the life straw, okay? I always keep one of these inside of my pack because it is what they call a personal water filter, okay? Now, you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a guy there, he's leaning down into the water, he's got the straw, it's sticking into the water, he's drinking from it. That is essentially what you do with this. Now, the thing about this is you use it once and you throw it away, okay? Is it really good? Yes, it's very good. But what these are for emergencies as far as I'm concerned. So when I say emergencies, I mean my filters are broken or they're clogged up and too dirty and it's giving me dirty water, or there's and my SteriPen is gone, or I've got a hole in my bladder so I can't hold water anymore. Those are emergencies where you need water. So that's what this is good for. So I always keep one of these in my pack just to be on the safe side. Now, let's get to my favorite by far. Okay, this is my favorite. It's called the Platypus Gravity Works 4.0 liter. So this is a full 4-liter unit. What I love about this thing, okay, and this is a new one that I got. What I love about this thing is that unlike the pumps and the actual push things here and stuff like that, this, you fill up your dirty water bag, you hook up your filter, you plug it into your clean water bag, you hang the dirty water bag up higher than the clean water, and it does all the work for you. There is no pumping. And trust me, if you've ever been out there and you have pumped water using one of those hand pumps, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's open this up and I'll show you exactly what it's all about, okay? So let's get into here. 1 second, let me get this out. So this is the filter. This is the little filter here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that filter. You can see that it's actually marked as to which way the flow goes. So what you want, pointing down, is you want your dirty water to go in at the top and the clean water to come out here. So that's why I say the flow goes this way, arrow down. So what we're going to do, we're going to open this up and I will show you exactly what is inside of here. Here we go. So that's open. We're going to take, we don't need the wrapping there and stuff, but it's quite simple. As you can see, what there is there's, let's go through this here and stuff. Here's the hose. There's hoses, okay, that actually screw on. This is another hose. So there's 2 hoses. There's a nipple to close off the end, and there's a lock. It's as simple as that. So what happens is that you've got your clean water. So you can see that they've actually labeled it clean, and you can see they've actually got on here the level marks. So 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter, 4 liters. So you can actually track and see how good it's doing. So what you do is you take your dirty water first, which is this one, okay? And you can, and once again on this one, they've got it marked, okay? As to 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter, 4 liters, so you can scoop in as much as you want. So what you do is you open up this, you basically just put it in the water, fill it up with water, and then hang it up, okay? So what happens is that you've got, inside of here, you've got this little piece goes into here, okay? So it's like this. So now you got the hose on there, okay? Can you see it? I hope you can see it. So the hose is on there now. And then what you do is you hook on your filter. So you want to take the end, the black end, and you plug it onto here, like so. So now we've got the dirty water and we've got the filter. So now what's going to happen is as it filters through here, it's going to come out here at the bottom on the white end, which is the clean. And that's supposed to go into the clean water. So the clean water, so what we're going to do now is we're going to hook this hose here is actually going to hook into the clean water like this, okay? So now it's on the clean water and it's going to go over here and we're going to screw it onto the end of the clean water like this. So what's going to happen now is that this is going to be hanging up. It's going to go through the filter and it's going to fill up this clean water bag, okay? Now, the one thing if you notice what I just did there and stuff, I forgot to put something on there. You know what it was? It's the stop for the water. So what you actually want, if you look, okay, is we've got this little piece here. So you want to make sure that you have this on your actual hose before you do anything, because what's going to happen, okay, is that after this is filled up, after the clean water is filled up, you want to close that so that you've actually got it openly, so it's closed off so the water does not escape. Because if you notice on the top of the clean one, it doesn't open up at the top. So you close this, okay, you put this in your pack, you dangle this over your shoulder, and you can drink from this. You just let this little clamp off and drink out of it, clamp it back down, and your water is always available. Now, the other thing you got to keep in mind is that sometimes you're not going to want to actually use this as a ladder when you're basically walking along and stuff. You just want to fill this full of water. Well, they've given you a nice little cap for that too. So if we take this cap off of here, okay, we've got another cap that just goes onto here that you can actually screw it on, and then you don't necessarily have to keep the hose on there and stuff. So that's another thing. The last thing to show you is once you have run this through and you've actually filled up your clean water, you get this little nipple that comes with it. Just make sure that you stick it on here so that no dirt and stuff gets in the actual clean end of it and stuff. And then you're basically set. Now, if you want to store this easily, there's a little tab you can push down on, and that takes this part out as well. Okay, but I would always keep these. Normally, I would keep these apart when I'm hiking and stuff, and I will keep this as empty as I possibly can. So, but always make sure that you keep this nipple on the end, because you don't want to get that contaminated, because it's going to cause you to get sick. It's as simple as that. So the reason I like this system the best is that when I set up or I stop somewhere and I'm going to have a bite to eat, or I'm going to camp for the night or something like that, I can just fill this thing up, hang it up in the tree, and leave it there while I set up camp, or I get out my food and start cooking, or whatever it may be. It's a lot handier than having to sit there, fill this up a whole bunch of times, press it, then turn around and dump it into the bladder, into this bladder here, okay? Because that's essentially what you would have to do, and you have to do this 4 times in order to fill this up. And trust me, this is difficult to push. The other thing is that it's a lot better than taking a hand pump like this, hooking it onto your bladder, which is good, but trust me, when you're pumping this thing, to fill up that bladder would take you probably, probably half an hour, easy. The flow rate on this thing is not good. It's not good at all. Does it clean the water well? Yes, it does. Very much so. The other thing is that if you're doing hikes like I did on the peninsula, there was one day where this thing was useless. There was tons of water, but the issue was that the waves were so big that were coming up against the actual shore and stuff that this would just basically be thrown out of the water all the time. The only way I could actually get some water, and I wasn't about to fill up the bladder, that's for sure. The only way I could get some water with this was to wade out into the water. But the issue was that at that time of the year, okay, the water's temperature was probably, I would say probably around 42 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was really cold, and it may have even been colder. And it was raining, and the waves were just coming up. I had to get into my bathing suit and basically walk out there and stuff, and and just get soaked from head to toe. And then I really didn't feel like making dinner because I was so cold. I went in and actually just lied inside of my tent in my sleeping bag in order to get warmed up. So these are great if you've got the time, if you are willing to take the time, and if you got the right conditions. Whereas this system here, the Platypus Gravity Works system, is so easy because you basically just fill it full of water, plug in the hoses, hang it up, and let it drain while you do everything else. So that is why I rate that as my most favorite water system of them all, because it is actually a complete system. You've got filtration in it as well as a bladder that you can take with you anywhere you want. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this overview of different water systems, and hope to hear from you. If you got any questions, feel free to ask me, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.